Good morning. And we're going to talk about some news, some possible good news, or is it false optimism? We'll see. And I know it's early, but this is the state of the world right now. So stay tuned, about a minute and a half, and we'll be on our way. So as soon as I click the right thing here. Bang your head. All right, let's see. Man, this is very unprofessional of me. There we go. Here we go. Intro to live. Yes. Good morning. Good morning. It's probably been a minute since you've heard that theme song. And if you don't like it, tough. Right? Tough. I like it. I wrote it. All right. So, good morning. It's Wednesday, September 4th. It's a short week for me because Friday I'm going to be off the grid, so there won't be a live feed on Friday. Unless I go, well, maybe. I might go super early on Friday. So make sure you got your notifications turned on because I believe I'm going to start shifting this show to there we go, to an earlier time slot because I know you West Coast people might find that annoying, but the problem is that 7 o'clock, brokers are already in full force. It used to be like nobody answered their phone like between 7 and 8, or loads were still being trying to figure it out, but it's a lot earlier now. And so I've had to start work early. My wife starts work early, so between 6 and 7, I'm not doing much anyways, unless I'm trying to book a truck. And so so it's possible that we're I do have to look for a couple loads today, but sorry, I'm multitasking here. So DPG loves my intro. Thank you. I love the fact that you love that intro. That's actually on, look, if you guys are interested in any of my old music, Apnea 1 on Bandcamp. Can't just put Apnea because, there's like 15,000 of them. But if you do Apnea 1, and you see the 2 capital A's on each end that look like that, then that's the right one. So, but good morning. All is well. Last couple of weeks have been kind of rough. August is usually a tough month in trucking. Historically, August has always been kind of a rough month in the spot market. You've got an election this year that is looking to be pretty volatile, and you've got a lot of disinformation all over the place. And so it's sad seeing the American public being consumed by a lot of these falsifications and how it's ruining or running their lives or living their lives in fear. And here's, if you come away with anything of this live feed, do not walk in a spirit of fear, because it does you no good. It's meant to rob you. Fear is meant to rob you of your happiness and your ability to plan and improve. And if you live in you live in that spirit of fear, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's what that's kind of what the devil wants for you. He doesn't want you to improve. He doesn't want you to feel good about life. He doesn't want you to feel secure in whatever decision you make. So I know a lot of people still making positive moves, and there are people that are doing positive things in the trucking world. So we're going to go over a FreightWaves article and some interesting facts that you may not have known. But first, we're going to get to the comments here. For you early birds who've decided to come in here, Josh Domingue, good morning. Gen Z, good morning. Randy, good morning from Phoenix. You're up early, especially for being in Phoenix. David says, morning, kids. I hope you don't get this bug going around. It ain't no joke. Sterling, good morning. The struggle will not be televised. Seven Seas Transport, morning. Woohoo. Good morning, everyone, says Shannon. Oh, by the way, Sterling's a member. Thank you for your membership. He's the only member I've seen here. Oh, Jerome, he's a member too. So, SST, what's up? Jerome, good morning. I thank you for your memberships. Sterling did something great for me, and I now have a new piece of musical equipment that hopefully I will unveil soon. Shannon says 24 pounds down in 60 days, feeling fantastic. Good deal. We're on. You're close to 60. I mean, well, if you're on 60, it means I'm getting close. So, DPG loves the intro. Thank you. Jay Fisher, good morning, everyone. Randy says STT, congrats. Romeland, good morning. Mrs. A, Shannon, that's awesome. Let's see. Chief Freight Hauler, congrats, Shannon. Chief Freight Hauler, beautiful sunrise in Texas this morning. I came across one of my old Facebook pictures of me at a truck stop, and I just put no filter, and it was glorious. I almost reposted it. If you follow Snorelord on Instagram, I have a lot of photos that I really don't put anywhere else on that one. And I have a lot of photos on there. I think I've got over 1,000 posts. I think I have like 12 followers. So, I do it for fun. I do it for me. I do it as kind of a journal, a record of my existence. So if I die tomorrow, kids got something cool to look at. That's why I try to be respectful on the internet. That's why I don't want to be a troll. That's why I don't want to, get angry and do and say stupid things like, many of us on social media have done in the past, because I want something that my kids can go, hey, that was my dad. He was cool. Gary Cook, good morning from Montgomery, Alabama. Did you ever get rid of that soup? No, was it soup or was it, I think it was Chef Boyardee. Did you ever get rid of that stuff? Anyways, let's talk about some things. I've got DAT trend lines. I've got, of course, the load availability and 1, 2, 3 low board, and then we've got FreightWaves on here. So let's take a look at this. This is my commentary on this article. We're not going to read it completely because that's boring, and I'm not speeding up things. So, state of freight for July, bullish market coming for freight economy. Now, so there's two lines of thought here, okay? There's a lot of drivers and a lot of speculators that are saying that things are not going to get better. And you have a lot of the industry experts that are talking about there's going to be a bump up in freight, how will that affect things? And the reason why they're saying that is because they're looking at the shipping lanes from the ocean. They're looking at all the imports coming in from China, and they are through the roof. That's the good news. And that's what this article talks about. Fuller and Strickland say another Trump presidency could be more tariffs on China. Now, so with that being said, if the world is confident that Trump will win, now we're not getting political. I'm not taking sides here because that's not what this article is about. Okay? What I am saying is if the perception of what people think our next leader is going to be is how they make decisions. So the webinar for July offered a wide-ranging discussion on everything from trucking bankruptcies, a surge in West Coast imports, and what a second Trump presidency could mean for the supply chain. Craig Fuller, FreightWave CEO and founder, said, for many people, the presidential race is in many Americans' minds, looking more and more like Donald Trump. And if you're running a supply chain, you're already thinking about what a Trump economy looks like. 5 takeaways. Logistics operators should be considering how a second Trump presidency could affect supply chains. If he gets a second term, it can mean tax cuts, increased import tariffs, and accelerated appreciation for companies, Fuller said. There are a lot of people that are waiting to see what happens in November, but as you know, a lot of things have to be planned ahead, right? It was going to be a tight, contested race. It no longer appears that way. Now, I wonder if this was written before the Harris thing, right? I think we'll see a lot of optimism just because there's clarity. Whether you love Trump presidency or absolutely hate it, businesses want clarity. Consumers want clarity, Fuller said. And we know that Donald Trump likes substantial tax cuts, which is going to create a lot of optimism. He loves things like accelerated depreciation. He's never met a tariff he doesn't like. This is probably an economy that's going to be stimulated. I think that's going to create some optimism where some of the economy looks tired. Now, this is from Fuller, right? This is not my quote. I think there will be a level of confidence just because there's more certainty of what a Donald Trump presidency looks like versus a Biden presidency. So obviously this was written before the Harris switch. It stays the course. That tends to be more favorable to freight. The other talking point, U.S. container imports are surging in June and July. Container import volume into the U.S. increased 14% year over year in June, and as of July 18th, is up to 18% compared to the same period in 23. We have to talk about the import data because the imports are on fire. This is near record levels, Fuller said. Let's see, what else? We'll skip all this. More capacity will be leaving the market in 2024. Now, this was interesting to me. Here's some numbers for you. For those of you who took the EIDL loans, okay? FreightWave's John Paul Hempstead recently wrote an article, SBA disaster loans propped up carriers, prolonged the Great Freight Recession, which analyzed how $37 billion went to 419,500 companies in transportation warehousing. So 419,500 companies in transportation warehousing got $37 billion. We want to know about transportation companies, specifically trucking, warehousing, and brokerages. How many of these companies actually took out loans? And the numbers were off the charts. $37 billion, nearly 10% of the entirety of these EIDL loans went to trucking companies. Thousands of trucking companies that received COVID-19 economic, EIDL from the Small Business Administration were able to have carriers hang around the market far longer than anyone anticipated, keeping rates lower for longer. A full year after the market's bottom in 23, rates had only increased about a dime to $1.60 per mile, Hempstead wrote. Now, think about this. How many people, and we saw it on YouTube, we saw it within our circle, we saw it on Facebook. I had people call me, tell me what they were doing. How many people parked their trucks when rates were low, taking the EIDL loans? and we're able to sit because of it. Now, normally if you sit, if you own a truck and you do nothing but sit, you're going to go out of business. And because the truck still costs money, right? I had other streams of income, so my truck sat more than it needed to. And guess what? That thing still cost me like $8,000 the last year I had it. Not running the load, just from fuel, maintenance, fuel for the APU, maintenance, and things that wear out just from it sitting. And normally so the regular nature, the natural course of the spot market is rates become good, everybody floods it, supply and demand creates rates to go down because there's too many trucks. And then eventually the weak they go out of business. Right? Repeat, rinse, repeat. That's what happens. But the IDL loans, that $37 billion that now the government owns your ass, it kept a lot of companies afloat when they shouldn't have been. And that's why we have the problems that we do today. And everybody wanted a piece of that pie. And also that's when everything went up. Your labor rates went up. Your parts went up. Everything went up, right? Because everybody wants a piece of that pie. Oh, you're making $3 a mile on 1,000 miles. Let's charge you double for your labor. Let's up that greasy manufactured cheeseburger in the truck stop. Let's double that price. And have those prices come down? No. Maybe a little bit in the food, but for the most part, there was a lot of people that were, it's basically I won't get into that. Anyways, so I thought that was interesting about this. Now, let's talk about so let's stay on the loan, for example. On average, trucking companies borrowed about $90,000 from the SBA's EIDL program, according to Hempstead's article. If you put that in perspective, an average owner-operator will generate take-home pay of $65,000 to $70,000 a year. That's take-home. This potentially explains how all these small carriers have been able to hang out as long as they have and still lose money operating their trucks. So when you look at the rates on the low board and it's like, I'm losing money because my costs are X amount and I'm averaging X amount, 10% lower. Brokers don't care about that. Shippers don't care about that. And as long as you continue to run for a loss, what are you going to do? Right? This is the reason why dynamics of this particular downturn have been operating like no other and how the small carriers survive, but it also tells us the reason we should be bullish and that the loans still exist and they have to pay it back. So we'll see an accelerant of capacity leaving. A Trump election could boost the freight market. Anytime we've seen a change in how the government regulates or stimulates the economy, it shows up in freight, Fuller said. These impacts are going to be felt. It's going to change the availability of capacity because it's going to be harder to buy trucks, and that's going to be big. Fuller said he's optimistic about the freight market for the rest of the year as well as 2025. If you're looking into the last half, the second half of 2024, or the first half of 25, you can't help but be bullish on freight. Shippers should be looking to secure capacity before the market gets tight, Fuller said. The risk for the supply chains is definitely on the side of the capacity crunch. It is absolutely something that if you're running a supply chain, you better be thinking about it. If you don't, you're going to run the risk of not having trucks. Now, a lot of people were predicting that there would not be improvements until mid-2024, first 2 quarters of 25. So this is kind of right on target with that line of thinking. Mexico, U.S.-Mexico trade border infrastructure continues to expand. A lot of these electric vehicles that these companies decide to start making are going to be done in Mexico. That's not the article. That's just me. From the article, you don't have to be bullish on Mexico, or you have to be bullish on Mexico. The big winner over a lot of this is Mexico. Fuller said, I don't think the Trump administration could completely cut off trade with Mexico and implement tariffs. So think about it. Are the Chinese companies using Mexico to get around the Chinese tariffs? I wonder. I bet you Sage probably has a thought about that. Strickland said that although Mexico still has some challenges to deal with, infrastructure along the border areas continues to improve. There's infrastructure being built right along the border, and that's where the majority of the growth is occurring. We actually had a webinar this week where we showed the growth of the cross-border ports. Port Laredo, Texas, which is already expanding. It's pulsating out more and more like places El Paso, Nogales, all of them are showing growth. So that's that, right? You got rid of the soup. Or yes, it was named to Food Bank in Montgomery. That's good. Sterling says not seeing a lot of truck traffic leaving Portland this morning. Interesting. Portlandia lulls. If you do you think that more truck companies go out of business for the yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the shippers are demanding low rates, and there are trucking companies that are bending over backwards, taking a loss just to keep these contracts, just to keep their people moving. Drivers are needing raises because cost of being out there on the road is higher, and the cost of maintaining a truck is higher. So that's a recipe for, crap's eventually going to hit the fan. And that's something that, people need to consider. So if you see a small bump up in freight, it probably won't be enough to save you, depending on your money management skills and the reliability of your equipment. That's where the false optimism part of this title comes in. The government came and saved all these struggling companies with the SBA loans, and now those companies are starting to fail because there's nobody coming to save them this time. And so you have to think about that. Now, if demand, look, here's the thing. I think that we're all chomping at the bit for the rates to come up. And I'm going to show you evidence that they have, right? But it's not going to be enough to save you if you're too deep in the hole. It's kind of, imagine you're in this big hole and someone's finally giving you a ladder, but you can't quite reach the ladder. That's kind of where it's at, or the ladder's so long that you won't be able to get up. So that's look, it's the nature of how freight works. I've been in this market for a while now, and it's something that naturally happens. But COVID shutdowns and then the EIDL loans created this different circumstances. You guys hear my cat in the background? Desert Okipan, morning, Snorelord. CDN says, good morning, Steve. I messed up on your start time. Yeah, well, I'm early. I explain it in the, watch the replay. I'll explain it in the beginning there. Flatbed trucker, hello. Let's face it, there's no return to normal. What is normal anyways? 2008, 2019, 2021. Rates, brokers are waiting for carriers rates to get back to normal, whatever normal carriers' costs are. So how low do you think fuel will go? Well, it depends, right? There's also outside of the country influences that want to see who becomes our leader, and so they'll manipulate the prices. Now, that was something else that was in the article. Let me see if I can find that. I talked about fuel. Maybe that was on the headline page. Let me look here. Yeah, there is an article about it. So let's bring this back up. Benchmark diesel price drops a little. Oil future market drops a lot. Pending increases out of OPEC, plus driving prices down to the levels not seen for months or years. So we're at 362, down 2 cents, 2.6 cents. Oil markets are in the middle of a major downward route, and the weekly retail diesel benchmark price used for most fuel surcharges is having trouble keeping up with the sell-off in the futures market. The Department of Energy and Energy Information Administration average retail diesel fell 2.6 cents a gallon to 362.5 and a price posted Tuesday, a day later than usual due to the Labor Day holiday. However, the effective date on the price is listed as September 2nd. Retail diesel prices are always a lagging indicator, but in the minute-by-minute trading in commodity markets, the fall in all petroleum prices has accelerated, with Tuesday's declines putting price settlements at levels not seen for many months or years. Let's see. Ultra-low diesel commodity exchange settled Tuesday at $2.20 a gallon, a drop of 4.5 cents. That price for ULSD delivered in New York Harbor in October. It was the lowest settlement in the ULSD contract since December 20th of 21, a span of more than 32 months. Let's see. Yeah, so it just goes on. West Texas Intermediate crude oil, the U.S. benchmark, declined $3.21 a barrel Tuesday to $70.34, a drop of 3.21%, its lowest settlement for WTI since December 13th. Oil markets begin to focus on the fact that OPEC Plus group, which consists of OPEC and a group of other oil exporting nations led by Russia, are planning on going ahead with a 180,000 barrel per day increase in production next month. A Reuters report citing 6 sources from OPEC created much of the market buzz Monday when European and Asian markets were open and into Tuesday that sent prices skidding. So, yeah, there's definitely some indicators that fuel will keep going low. CDN says, sorry, I meant brokers are waiting for carrier operating costs to get back to normal. Scorpion Trucker, good morning. How are you? It's good talking to you, my friend. Covered Wagon, what's up? Good morning. Sterling, nobody's talking about the overcapacity in warehouse. Commercial real estate is struggling. Insurance companies are pulling out of California. 2025 will be crazy no matter what. Absolutely true. Without getting too many into the details, into the minutia there, I think that rates coming out of California are going to increase as these companies start fleeing and building elsewhere. Gary Cook says every year, even under good markets, both carriers and brokers will keep going out of business. Take Convoy Freight or Surge. They fail due to growing too fast, or success equals failure. Gary agrees. It's smart to agree with CDN. In my experience, when the news said oil prices are dropping or should drop in the next few months, that has already happened and will probably dusty, trending upward again. And look, war could break out tomorrow, and that will change that dynamic. You know, that's something to think about. When a carrier runs the same lane or triangle, your operation, both fixed and non-fixed, are dialed in. Further, you can have trusted mechanic shops in the lane or triangle. Same with diesel costs. One of the things that people don't really take into account is the cost of sitting while your truck's getting worked on. You can have the most killer bumper-to-bumper warranty, and it doesn't matter if it takes the shop 3 or 4 weeks to make those repairs. You know, you lose time. You know, especially if you're under a load, you have to repower it. You know, that costs money. You know, there's all kinds of these things that happen because, and then the shops, a lot of them are not fixing the problem. They're just throwing parts because they know the warranty is going to pay for it. They know the driver's not on the hook for it. And, well, we're waiting on this part. We're waiting on this part. We're waiting on that part. And, so like, let's say the Kenworth T680s, they all have issues with one particular part, right? Well, obviously, if there's 20 trucks in the shop for that very same issue, it's a warranty issue, then then there's going to be a higher demand on those parts, which makes it a little bit harder to come by. So, yeah, Adam Gallagher, you're absolutely correct. Shops firing the parts cannon, right? DIY says, boom. Chief Rail says, fizzle. And then warranty, Chief Freight Hauler says warranty suck. Yeah, if they, they're and look, there's a miscommunication with some shops. I'm seeing that with the internationals. Like one shop will say, no, this isn't under warranty, and another shop say, yes, it is. Either way, so the truck ends up in this purgatory, and the driver can't work. Okay, whether I'm paying for this or not, I got to get to work. Let's go, And so you have to take that into account when you decide you're going to buy a truck. Will you still be able to make the truck payments, or your house bills if the truck isn't running, regardless of the reason? You could have look. Someone Scorpion Truck can attest to this. If you get your hood wiped out at the Flying J because their parking lot sucks, that could take you out for 4 months. What are you going to do for that? And if you're at a mega carrier, they might put you in a loaner. But if you're a single truck operation, that could put you out of business pretty quickly, unless you got some savings built up or another stream of income. Which I've always said you got to have other streams of income. That's what allowed me to transition from the truck to home. So SST says my mechanic leveled with me years ago about how warranty work pays the shop trash rates right. And so the mechanics get frustrated, so they just throw a lot more parts at it and try to up that bill for themselves. I just had to show a driver where the fuel tank on his reefer trailer was. Oh my gosh, know your competition. Oh man, it doesn't take much to stand out. It doesn't take much to be a diamond in the rough, right? Right now, you couldn't pay me to buy a truck in this market we have today, says Flatbed Trucker. Well, that's good because most people aren't getting paid. So, anyways, let's look at some trends. I've got 1, 2, 3 up here. 48065 if you want to try it out for free for 30 days. I use this thing every day. That's not a lie. I use the tools available. Load availability and market rates and the profit calculator and the mileage calculator are incredible tools. I use them every day. Pretty easy to deal with. But let's look at some DAT trend lines, shall we? To show that maybe some of this good news is not false optimism. Load post went up 11.5%. Van load to truck went up 18% from August to September. The last week of August, the last week of from August 18th to the 25th, from there to August 26th to September 1st. So basically the last 2 weeks. Reefer went up 13%. Now, for the month, it's still down. There's no positive numbers here. Right? But for the year, flatbed load to truck went up. Now, check this out. Look at this. Flatbed had a huge jump in rates, almost by 20 cents, over 20 cents from August to September. So that's pretty cool. So you guys should be seeing that if you're in flatbed. Van saw a little bit tiny bump to 203, and then reefer saw a little bump down from 241 to 240. Not enough to really cause any significant headaches. But one of the things, another good thing I look at, click on this button, and this is all free. This part is free. You can look at that. But let's look at van demand capacity. They've got their hot market maps, right? Texas load to truck ratio, 2.6 to 5.4 loads to trucks. Now, obviously, the 0 to 1. Nebraska is not doing great. Montana, of course, always, Tennessee, it's been a struggle to get out of Tennessee here lately. That's something I got to deal with actually here in about 10 or so minutes. And, of course, Florida. So, but anyways, this is a free tool. What happened to my mic? Hold on. Check one. Hey. There we go. So, how's my audio? Is it better now? You guys obviously been hearing me for a while. All right. Let's take a look at reefer here. A lot of lighter colors here. Texas, Arizona, Wyoming, Montana, Florida's like no loads in Florida right there. And then Illinois is down. That's interesting. A lot of different ratios there. So let's go back to 1, 2, 3 here. Let's see. Let's go back to the. All right. Alfalfa onions are moving in large quantities out of P&W on flatbeds. Oh, okay. Thank you for your membership, by the way, Alfalfa. Michigan to Texas. We can look at that. So it's a decrease in the increase or an increase in the decrease. If you have not stayed within your personal budget for the previous year, do not buy a truck. Neither spot or contract market should have to pay for your lack of discipline. Sorry, not sorry, says CDN. As this dude's joking. My truck had the injector problems the new pack cars are known for. Because of warranty, I had to make 4 shop trips before updated injectors were involved. The 5th trip, the dealer decided to install a 6-pack, but it took 5 days for PACCAR to approve it. Yeah. That's why he's jaded on warranties. 6-hour job. I should have swiped the card and had my truck back the next day. Right. So how much money did you lose over that 5 days, right? Let's see. Audio's good. Thank you, Flatbed. Now, let's look at Michigan to Texas. So what we can do is we can go to market rates here. Let's do Detroit, Michigan. I will tell you this. They're not great. I know a driver that loves to go to Texas, and that person is slowly going out of business because of that. The negotiation is down $1.73 a mile. So cargo cheese got it at $2,000. It's been as low as $19.96, but I've seen this lane go for $1.49, $1.50. And if you look at the historical rates, $1.69, $2.16, $2.24, $1.68. So right now in actually no, 23 was the lowest, and then 24 was the third lowest. So basically, rates are not that far better than they were in 2020 during the shortages, or right before the shortages. So utilizing Texas is a difficult game. It really is, because they're not paying to go in. You used to got paid to go in van, and then you took your hit coming out, which I'd make it a small hit. I had a strategy for that, but going into Texas, it's not paying, and coming out ain't much better. So when you look at let's go to load availability. Let's put this on van. Let's take a look at what they're trying to push out of Texas. In and out, right? So this is outbound. Texas to Maryland. Picks up Friday. This rate looks pretty good, but that's going to Maryland. You're looking at what? No toll costs. That's good. So this is actually a good paying load, but I guarantee it's probably got some other stops, probably. They're going by rate checks numbers, not because they haven't posted a rate. And I think the volatility of Texas is a big part of that as well. Let's do this by highest rate here. CDN says same. If you want to be a broker, you need discipline as you may not make any money for 3 to 6 months. If you have not saved up, you're not ready for 100% commission as an independent agent. Cheap Freight says, I'm in Texas. You talking about me? No. I get that question asked a lot. Here we go, $25 a mile to go from Temple, Texas, to Oklahoma City. There's your load. Here's your load, Cheap Freight. I imagine that's a typo. I imagine it's supposed to say 860. But, hey, you never know. Call them up and say, I will do it for the rate that you have posted on 123 low board. No negotiation. I love your rate. What's it posted for? $8,600. Oh, yeah, that's a typo. Well, still, I'll do it for that rate. I'll be your dedicated truck. And then drive your, 344 miles and count the cash. But beware of those scam artists that live in the back of the Flying J there in Tulsa, in Oklahoma City. All right. $1.88 to go to New Jersey. $1.71 to go to Connecticut. $1.82 to go to Massachusetts. Yeah, that's not good. $2.53 to go to Florida. $2.19 to go to Lakeland. So they're paying better to go to Florida, but obviously, as you saw, the volumes are way lower out of Florida, actually. So that's not a great deal. You're going to take a hit one way or the other. $1.69 to go to Michigan, or go back to Michigan. So if you're looking at $1.70 to go from Michigan to Texas, and then $1.70 to go from Texas back to Michigan, and your costs are $2 a mile, it's a wrap. Figure it out. Don't go to Texas anymore. That kind of thing, right? These border towns are doing a little bit better coming out, like Laredo and El Paso. Like $1.76 out of El Paso. That's kind of like, I don't really see that a whole lot. Brownsville, $2.23 a mile to go to Georgia, $2,600. That's not a bad load. That picks up today. Let's take a look at this one. 20,000 pounds. Here's your load, man. Picks up at 1 o'clock today. Delivers 11:59 p.m., so almost midnight on the 6th. But if you can spend the night at the customer, you could probably get that delivered and then grab something Friday morning. Drop receiver, 72 hours. That's why the rate is so good. There you go. That's what I tell the new people to the spot market, especially ones that haven't self-dispatched. If you see a highly good rate, then there's probably a reason. They're at 26. Normal rate is about 2,000, according to Cargo Chief. That's right. So, let's see. Looking for Houston back to the house. Really need to get back to the nursery. Well, there's definitely a lane there. So what we do is go to market rates, and we do Houston to, where do you live at? Where do you live at, Cheap Freight? Or where do you need to get to the Houston, Texas to, I want to say Georgia, right? Weren't you Atlanta? Ghost Cat, do you ever do partial loads where you put 2 or 3 loads on the trailer? No, I've never. that's a lot harder in a van. I know it's a little bit easier on the flatbed, depending on the weight, but there was a time I tried to make that work, but it just, you never know. Like one time when I was at Landstar, I got loaded in Richmond, Virginia. It was a really light load, and the guy said, "Hey, you're loaded." And so I go back to the trailer, and I had half a trailer because he had double stacked everything. I was like, "Wow, I'm surprised you double stacked it." He was like, "Well, I didn't, you can probably pick up another load if you want." The problem is the seal gets broken. I would have to find that was like something that was literally in the area that, or maybe on the way, I forget where the load was going, but then I would have to break the seal and then find a load that worked that would deliver first, that wouldn't screw up the second load. So I never that was a huge challenge to me. So I've never done that. So or never attempted that. Augusta, Georgia. Okay, so let's do Augusta here. I know you and I have talked. I probably knew that, but my memory is horrible. All right, so Cargo Chief's got this at about 221 a mile, so that's not a bad lane. You should be able to get something, and your negotiation strength to go from Houston to Georgia is not bad. It's a better. 8 loads right now posted, going from Houston to Augusta. And you can view those loads from here. Now, Green Screens has got this a lot lower, $1.78 per mile. So so the brokers that are going more by the AI pricing, they might be leaning more towards that. Realistically, you're probably looking at about 1,800 to go from Houston to Augusta. Steve, can you think of a lane that since 2020, which was cheap but flipped to be a stronger and held strong in the last 4 years? No. Georgia was strong for a long time, but not 4 years. So, it goes with the cycles. Even Ohio, Illinois, Indiana aren't strong for a full 4 years. I mean, there are times when there was a time this past year where I was getting better rates out of Georgia than out of Ohio. And that was, when that happens, I know that, like, okay, just hang on for the ride. We're on a roller coaster for a minute. And I try to use these tools to utilize, what's the best I can do on any situation. And right now, the Northeast seems to be the place where I tend to be bouncing back and forth from. So I've been avoiding the Southeast for the most part. Sterling says, I couldn't imagine the struggle of being new to the spot market. If you can survive it, you'll be set for life. This is true, Sterling. You bring up a great point. These are great lessons of discipline, efficiency, and figuring out what works and what doesn't. This is the best thing about the market. You come in on this market, then once it gets better, it'll be easy. But then a lot of people will get lazy after that. Lazy in running down their finances and overconfident and going out and buying stuff that they don't need. All right. So, but you're right. I mean, this is good training grounds. But surviving, being able to afford the learning curve, that's where it gets interesting. And and a lot of the big brokerages are switching over to Go Highway, which is bad news for small carriers. It was discussed last night on DIY's thing, and it's been a big topic in our world as well. And Go Highway is going to make, DIY said this last night. Go Highway is going to make a big move that's going to literally change the landscape of this process. So just kind of keep that in mind whenever you're looking over things. So it won't be until there's too many loads for each truck that they will relax these rules, if Go Highway will allow them. So, Ghost Cat, if you find yourself in a military town, there's always those U-Haul boxes. U-boxes, yep. So, anyways, let's look at the load availability. Let's look at the hottest places for van. On this particular map, green is good, red is bad, yellow is so-so. And as you can see, everything out west sucks. So, Minnesota's cooled down. Iowa's cooled down. Wisconsin and Michigan are doing fairly good. Michigan's actually gotten better in the last couple of weeks. Missouri, 330 outbound, 264 inbound, 11 intrastate. See, New York. New York's not doing too bad. PA is doing really good. 793 outbound, the 427 inbound. The thing with Pennsylvania is you have to really kind of be selective. You can't, it takes some digging to get a good rate out of Pennsylvania. I got a killer rate from New York to Pennsylvania. So another avenue is you can take let's say you do Missouri to New York, upstate New York, and then grab a shorty to PA, grab a shorty to Ohio. That's where you're going to take probably your worst hit, but get a good daily rate for it. And then from Ohio, you can go anywhere in the country and get a good rate right now. So, or you can just keep bouncing up into sharper northeast and then deal with the deadhead and all that. So there's that. Gary Cook says right now there's some people struggling just to put food on the table. I hear you. What I'm seeing, though, is the majority of independent contractors, their wounds are self-inflicted. Whether they signed a bad lease that was too expensive, or, because they didn't read the contract, or and this is a harsh truth, and people are going to hate me for this. But how are you going to learn if you're not uncomfortable, right? They sign bad leases that are way too expensive without doing their research. There are people that have money management issues. There's one person in particular that a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, I told him you need to fix your money management issues. And he was defiantly going, I'm going to make it. Well, prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Hasn't been able to do it. And look, none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. I had debt when I got out of the truck, a little bit, and selling the truck paid that off. But a lot of that debt was acquired because I wasn't running the truck. I was relying on the revenue I was getting from dispatch and safety, which was good money at one point. But when the market dropped, it was a struggle for us too, and my money management. So, look, most of the things I tell you guys, because I've made that mistake. I've made that screw up. And by the grace of God, I'm still here to talk about it. But most people are self-inflicted. I know several drivers right now that are slowly going out of business. I've informed them that they're slowly going out of business, and I told them why, and they're still making the same moves, still making the same mistakes. They're not correcting the course. It's kind of like, hey, there's rocks ahead of you. You're in the ocean. There's rocks ahead of us. You might want to turn right. And they go, okay. And then they're back to the same course. There's no course correction. And so a lot of people are struggling right now is because of that. Now, if you're a company driver for a bad company, then that's not on you. Unless you refuse to do something about it, then that's on you. right? And that's the reality of it. There are a lot of people struggling right now, but you know what? There are a lot of people that are making it great. And so what are those people are doing that are different? What circumstances have they created that are different, right? Hate to say it, but the clearinghouse kicking drivers off the road that have had substance issues will help the industry. That's true. Mr. Charles, good morning. If there were no carriers with 30 MC numbers registered with the same address, if carriers didn't double broker loads, hold loads hostage, run uninsured trailers, have foreign dispatchers, no need for highway. This is true. Highway is serving a need. And the look, I recognize their place, but they're also pretty invasive as well because there's no gray area, right? It's either black or white. It's a defined line. And I know that you've had your struggles with that. You know, see what it does is it eliminates. Here's the part I don't like about Go Highway. It eliminates the process of a real, true broker-carrier relationship. I know a small carrier that can't run JB Hunt right now, even though for many, many years they've been running JB Hunt with no issues. Simply because they brought in a truck. The VIN number flagged because the truck was at a bad carrier at one point. So they're going to throw away so many years of exceptional service because of one truck being red flagged. See, there's no discernment there. There's no discernment, and that's a problem because now it takes these. Now they're basically what that's doing is like it's all about the numbers, not about the relationship. Right? And Jeff says Highway doesn't fact check the information. That's the problem. CDN, if you honestly carriers want to get rid of Highway, help get rid of the bad apple carriers. I've tried to rid bad apple carrier brokers by having low boards block them, and they won't because they keep paying. Right. Well, just like the EIDL loans kept bad carriers going in business. I talked to a driver one time that literally has had 2 trucks repossessed that he bought with an EIDL loan. How do you like the normal processes of eliminating these bad carriers is not there. Southbound says I had to pay SFI $6,000 to turn my truck in 9 months early on a 3-year lease. But you signed the contract stating that was going to happen. And they don't report to the credit bureau. The only reason to pay that $6,000 is if you want to get back into an SFI truck. Which, that's an expensive payment. Jeff says a class action lawsuit will fix Highway. And look, we're not asking for them to go away. We're just asking them to have some ability to discern, to check the facts. Just because a company has if you're a company that's got self-dispatch trucks, that puts a flag up on Highway because you got multiple ISPs or whatever, IP addresses. Booking freight. I have countless carriers that I use to give a lot of freight, but now there are comments of double brokering, ongoing claims, hostage loads, people and companies change. It's hard to trust in 2024. Yeah, and there's no discernment out there. It's either yay or nay. I had enough money in my security deposit, escrow, maintenance accounts to cover it, which was cool. Well, good. At least it didn't put you in debt. It's weird taking a 30-minute break this early in the day. It is. Anyways, here's the van density map. And let's go to reefer here. Let's go to flatbed first, actually. Look at that. Pacific Northwest is waking up. You got Minnesota doing this thing. So, yeah, it looks like things are improving out of the, let's take a look at Washington. Let's take a look at outbound in Washington. What's the highest paying thing? $1.26 mile. Wow, okay. Let's see. Highest rate. Let's go with the highest rate here. $5,000 to go to Louisiana. $1.96 go to Saginaw, Texas. Rate per mile kind of sucks. Centralia to Springfield, Missouri. Nothing breaking $2 a mile on the long haul stuff. All right, let's do the highest per mile. Rate per mile. Let's see what that looks like. Washington, Montana, of course. Idaho. Here you go. 307, 1,500 for a shorty. 488 miles. Another green state. So maybe you can do Washington, Idaho, and back. Do it now before winter hits. Spokane, Montana, of course. Boise. More Boise. A lot of Montana. Oregon. Of course, it costs money to drive in Oregon. So let's do this. So we go to market rates. Let's do Fife, Washington to Boise. Oh, we gotta put this on flatbed here. $3.25 a mile on the rate check, spot rate. Let's see what Cargo Chief's got this at. $17.42, so even higher, $3.47. It's been as low as $2.96, so even on a bad day, it's not much below $3 a mile. 508 miles is the average lane. Negotiation strength is. Now let's flip this. Let's see what that looks like. A little bit lower to go from Idaho back to Washington. They got not enough data for the negotiation strength. Still looking at $2.86 a mile, $1.80 at the lowest, $9.13. So if you're making 16 one direction and 12.13 the next, each day, there you go. But obviously you got to find the loads that are going back to Washington, and there isn't. So that's something about that. So, all right, so let's put this on reefer. Chief Freight says I ran over $300,000 in revenue over 4 years with JB Hunt. Once they switched to highway, I no longer qualify. Never late, always tracking, but now I can't run for them. And you are one of many carriers that have that same story. And so JB Hunt is taking out their own capacity, right? If Go Highway is such a market disruption, how do I invest? That's a good question. But that's okay since the market flips and they listen to the requirements, they won't meet my requirements. There you go, right? Mr. Charles says 2 months or 8 more payments and my SFI truck is paid off. Well, I hope it's been worth it. The things that you've sacrificed. I hope it's been worth it. A broker can always override highway findings. Now, that's easier with a smaller brokerage, but a big brokerage like JB Hunt, that might be a lot more difficult. But congratulations, Mr. Charles. Highway has identified how each province or state nuances make it super hard. One state may allow something a carrier who only runs that state has to figure out how to deal with these situations. CDN, that's true, but there's not enough brain cells and JBH compliance to make that happen. Yeah, so it's definitely disrupting the market, and it's going to cause some capacity issues. Now, it's doing that now, and it will be in the future. So, but here's your reefer market. Washington, Idaho again are also awake. Let's take a look at that. 158 outbound, only 2 inbound. Let's take a look at what's outbound in Idaho. Is Mr. Charles buying a new truck? LOL. I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. Let's see, highest rate. Let's see what the highest rate is coming out of Idaho for a reefer. 6,500 to go to Massachusetts. 6,200 to go to Maryland. 55 to go to PA. These are better than they were like last year when I had to get a truck out of Washington, go back to the Northeast. $1.92. That's a little low there. A to Z. Burley, Idaho to Olathe, Kansas, $1.78. So there's still some negative rates here. Let's take a look at that one. Picks up at 1 a.m. on the 10th, which is what? Tuesday, right? Olathe, Kansas delivers 2 days later, 7:30 a.m. Cargo Chiefs got this at 24. Frozen potatoes, so your reefer's running pretty good there. See what their credit is. 99 credit score, trans credit. They got an A with Thunder, 39 days to pay. They are a member of TIA. TIA. And it's above my cost per day. So not the greatest load to get out of there, but if you had to get back to Kansas, that might work. And probably get another 200 or 300 out of him. Twin Falls, St. George, Utah, 306 mile, $1,400, 458 miles. That's a quick, easy day. A lot of the highest rate per mile are Utah, California. Oh, wait, no. Boise to Los Angeles, $1.12. Not great. Audio went bad. No new truck. This one was too costly. Good. Make this one work and you're good to go. Why are brokers so strict with onboarding carriers? Either they were victims of double brokering or theft. I was a victim of double brokering and Furl Vance scam back in 2009, but that forced me to change. Look, we get it. I get why the need for Go Highway exists. It's but there's some overreach going on there, and it's eliminating good relationships. That's the problem. Because there's no discernment, right? If a carrier gets flagged for double brokering but has never double brokered, and you can't call him up to say, hey, this isn't true, to contest this, that's where the problem lies. Looks like Texas is green. Texas, look, here's the deal with these hot market maps, okay? If we go to van, Texas is always green because there's an abundance of freight there. Whether it's good paying or not, that's a different story. This does not determine higher rates. It just means it's a little bit easier to find a loadout, right? And, it depends on your negotiation skills. Depends on, like Texas is a pretty big state. It might be easier to get out of Houston than Dallas. Might be easier to get a good rate out of Laredo than, say, Amarillo. So you have to take these things at face value. Either someone in this chat start a company that vets brokers and creates an industry standard carrier. Broker agreement currently only broker over a carrier agreement exists. Well, there's eCarrier. They have a grading system. DIY has talked about that. Right? So, anyways, it's a hot topic. And look, it's going to put a lot of small carriers out of business. So the important thing is you find the smaller company brokerages that have the good direct freight and are willing to, the shipper and the broker is willing to pay for customer service. I know that's possible because I have done that. With the help of some really good drivers that we have over here, we've been able to maintain it. And I'm not going to brag about those numbers. But I will say that it's substantial when we get one of these drivers on these loads. And you're not going to get that with a big carrier. You're not going to get that with a big brokerage. Especially when more and more are going towards the computers and analytics. So there's that. So, all right, guys and gals, thanks for watching. We had a pretty good count today. I think we got as high as 60, so that's good. Make sure you like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support for the channel. 48065 if you want to try out the 123 load board for free and see if you can utilize the many tools. I use this tool, I use the market rates, and I use the mileage calculator. Mileage calculator, I come here and I say, let's do Springfield, Missouri. To Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Calculate. And you can put the exact addresses. $215 in tolls, 17 hours and 40 minutes of driving, toll distance of 1,005 miles, rounded up to 1,006. And it's going from zip code 65890, Springfield, Missouri, to 17055. Here's all my states per IFTA report: Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Ohio, PA, West Virginia. And what my estimated fuel costs will be. And then additional costs. So now the great thing about this tool is the tolls are pretty accurate, and you can also add stops. So if I have someone that's got a multiple stop in the Northeast, I can put all these stops in here, and boom, I can figure out what your tolls are going to be. And that's important when you're booking a load that, and it seems like it's $500 more than the average, but when it's $500 in tolls, you're making about average, right? So you got to know these numbers. Knowing these numbers is what's going to help you succeed, regardless of what the market is up or whether the market is down. So, let's see. Great topic and information shared today. Thank you, CDN, SST, giving me the thumbs up. Cheap Freight says if highway helps put small carriers out of business, wouldn't that shrink brokerage also because more megas would pick up the contract freight? True. Sterling with the gifted memberships. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. CDN says, Steve, the success story you have shared is a result of Jeff's and yours years in the industry. Time is a factor to your success. That's true. And luck and a little bit of faith. Looks like SSD got the membership. I was in Springfield, Missouri last week. I loaded out of one of the caves. That was amazing. Yep. Springfield Underground is not a bad place. So I got a membership to Snorelord's channel. The OG get a membership to my channel. That's funny. Yep, OG did. That's happened a couple of times. So, Flatbed says, great live feed. Ghost Cat, what's Highway? GoHighway.com is the website you want to visit for that answer. So, it's a carrier vetting system, but it's a lot more. DIY has much better information on this. So, with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and maybe we'll see you Friday, but we're going to start aiming towards more earlier live streams so I can get to work a little bit sooner. So with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. And one of these days I'll learn how to use the computer. It'll be great. Bang your head. Peace.